You don't expect your entire life to collapse on a Tuesday morning. But that's exactly when it happened. The day started like any other. The house buzzed with the chaos of 5 kids before school. Daniel was grumbling over cold cereal. The twins, Lily and Leah, were fighting over mismatched socks again, while little Max was trying to feed peanut butter to the dog. Clara, my wife, was by the window, unusually quiet, cradling her coffee like it was the only thing holding her together. I didn't notice anything off. Maybe I didn't want to. Maybe I'd grown too used to her silences. I kissed her cheek on the way out. She didn't kiss me back. At 10:13 a.m., I got a call from the school. Leah had left her inhaler at home. Again. I grumbled under my breath, turned the car around, and went back to the house. It was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. I walked into the kitchen. Everything was spotless. No half-eaten toast. No coffee mug. No toys strewn across the floor. Then I saw it. A single envelope on the counter with my name scrawled in Clara's handwriting. James, I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. Please don't look for me. Take care of them. No emotion. No explanation. Just absence. A void I hadn't seen coming. At first, I thought it was a joke. Some twisted way of blowing off steam. But when I ran through the house, closets empty, toothbrush gone, phone missing, it hit me like a brick to the chest. She was gone. Vanished. Abandoned us like a thief in the night. The kids didn't understand. How could they? I told them she went on a trip. Max, only 4, asked if she'd bring candy. I said yes and died a little inside. Daniel didn't believe me. He was 13, quiet, and far too smart. His eyes told me he already knew the truth. He stopped asking questions after that. I spent that night curled up in the bathroom, clutching her note like a lifeline. My heart wasn't just broken. It was shattered in places I didn't know existed. I called her phone. Left a dozen voicemails. Sent hundreds of texts. No response. No read receipts. I checked the hospitals, the police, even called her sister. No one knew anything. Or maybe they did and weren't telling me. The next few days were a blur of cold cereal dinners, missed school pickups, and kids crying at random. I lost my job within the week. No paid leave. No sympathy. Just, we understand, but we have to move on. I laughed bitterly. Everyone was moving on. Except me. Reality hit fast. I was now a single father of 5, with no income, no plan, and no idea how to hold it all together. Laundry piled up. Max got sick. I burned pasta, for God's sake. The twins started acting out. Leah had an asthma attack that nearly sent us to the ER. Daniel became a ghost in his own home. Quiet. Distant. I'd find him staring at the front door like he expected her to walk back through it. I wished I could believe that too. Then came the knock on the door. A woman in a beige trench coat introduced herself as Mrs. Beckett. Child Protective Services. Someone, probably the neighbor, had reported neglect and emotional distress in the home. She walked through the house with a clipboard and a judgmental smile. Took notes on everything. The dishes in the sink. The pile of laundry. The faint smell of burnt food. Max crying in the background. "We're not looking to remove the children right now, Mr. Adams," she said, "but you're clearly overwhelmed." No kidding. That night, I found Daniel sitting outside on the porch swing. "When's she coming back?" he asked without looking at me. I lied. "Soon." "You don't believe that?" "No," I said softly. "I don't." "Was it me?" he asked. "Did I do something?" That question broke me. I wrapped my arms around him and held on tight. "No, son. None of this is your fault." He didn't cry. He just nodded, the way adults do when they've been hurt too deeply to shed more tears. Then, exactly 3 weeks after Clara disappeared, a package showed up. No return address. Just our names written in delicate handwriting across the front. Inside, a teddy bear Max had lost 2 years ago. One of Clara's scarves. A folded photo of the kids. And a note. I watch from a distance. I'm sorry. I sat there staring at it, heart pounding. She wasn't gone. She was watching us. Why wouldn't she come home? What was she hiding from? Fear turned to obsession. I tore through everything she left behind. Drawers. Old journals. Password-protected folders on her laptop. All I found was a second phone, burner style, hidden in the closet. No service. One note in the memo app. If you're reading this, it means I couldn't stay. I loved you. I loved them. But I was becoming someone dangerous. I needed to leave before I hurt anyone. I dropped the phone like it burned my hand. What did that mean? Was she mentally ill? Was she in danger? Or were we? I didn't know. And I couldn't afford to lose myself in the mystery. I had mouths to feed. Kids to protect. I wiped the tears from my face and started planning. Wrote 3 things on the bathroom mirror with a dry erase marker. Find work. Protect the kids. Don't fall apart. Every morning, I looked in that mirror and read those 3 things. Sometimes I believed them. Sometimes I didn't. But I kept going anyway. I took the graveyard shift at a local hospital. Janitorial work, minimum wage, but steady. I'd come home in time to pack lunches. Took power naps between school pickups and therapy appointments. I learned how to do braids. I sat through homework meltdowns. I made up bedtime stories even when I could barely keep my eyes open. I was running on fumes, but I was still running. Because if I stopped, I might never start again. Then one night, Daniel came into the kitchen while I was folding laundry. "Can you sign my permission slip?" he asked. I blinked, shocked. We hadn't had a real conversation in weeks. "Of course," I said. He hesitated. Then, almost as an afterthought, "You're doing okay," and walked away. I stood there, holding that slip of paper, and nearly broke down. Because for the first time in weeks, I felt something warm. Hope. But I wasn't naive. Clara was still out there. Somewhere. Watching. And whether I liked it or not, I had a feeling she'd be back. With secrets I wasn't ready for. I used to think survival was about brute force, about pushing through, staying awake, keeping the roof over our heads. But surviving with 5 kids after your wife vanishes? It's not about force. It's about finesse. It's about learning to breathe again, even when everything inside you is still screaming. I started sleeping in shifts. 2 hours before the kids woke up. A nap before dinner. Then off to the hospital for the graveyard shift. I barely knew what day it was anymore, but somehow routines started to form. Max stopped crying every night. The twins began making breakfast together, cold Pop-Tarts, but it was something. And Daniel, well, he'd started talking again. 1 or 2 sentences a day, but I'd take it. Progress, however slow, was still progress. One Wednesday morning, I found a drawing taped to the fridge. It was done in crayon. A stick-figure family. Me, the kids, and a ghostly woman floating above us. Clara. Next to her was a sentence, spelled phonetically by one of the twins. "Mom sees us from the clouds." I stared at that drawing for 10 minutes. She wasn't dead. I knew that. But to the kids, that version of her, the mom version, was. Then came the knock. Not CPS this time. It was a woman in her 60s, bundled in layers of knit scarves, with kind eyes and a box of muffins in her hands. Name's Teresa. I lived down the street. Heard what happened. I opened my mouth to respond, but she cut me off. No pity. Just muffins. And maybe some help, if you'll take it. She came in like she owned the place. Started washing dishes, humming like she'd been doing it her whole life. The kids loved her instantly. Teresa became a fixture. She taught Lily and Leah how to sew buttons. Showed Max how to grow tomatoes in a cracked flower pot. Talked to Daniel like he wasn't made of glass. I asked her once why she was helping. "My daughter left too," she said softly. "Walked out and never came back. Left me with her son. That was 30 years ago." She never mentioned the daughter again. But every time she looked at me, I saw the weight she carried. She understood. In a way no one else could. One evening, while folding laundry with Teresa, I confessed about the packages. The teddy bear. The scarf. The note. She didn't flinch. "She's watching you," she said. "That's not love. That's guilt." I didn't know what to say to that. "She's testing you, James. Seeing if you'll break. Don't give her the satisfaction." I nodded. But in my gut, something didn't sit right. Clara wasn't testing me. She was warning me. 2 days later, Daniel came home with a black eye. I lost it. "Who did this?" He shrugged, tossing his backpack to the floor. "Just a kid. I handled it." I drove to the school, stormed into the office, demanded answers. The principal looked uncomfortable. Daniel's changed. "He's quiet, yes, but there was an incident today. He provoked another student." I blinked. "Daniel doesn't fight. He does now." I drove home in silence. When I asked Daniel about it again, he said one thing. He called Mom a psycho. I wasn't gonna let that slide. And for the first time in months, I didn't know if I should feel angry or proud. That weekend, while cleaning out Clara's old art supplies, I found something else. An unfinished painting. One I'd never seen before. It was strange. A forest. A woman in a red coat, walking toward a dark cabin. The sky above her twisted, bruised with color. But the woman had no face. On the back of the canvas was a name. Silver Pines. It didn't ring any bells. But when I Googled it, I found something chilling. Silver Pines was a secluded cabin resort, 3 hours from our town. Remote. Barely active. But listed as closed due to security concerns 6 months ago. My heart dropped. Clara's parents had honeymooned there. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the photo from the second package. The kids, laughing, with Clara's scarf wrapped around Lily's neck. I flipped it over. I hadn't noticed it before, but there was faint writing on the back, barely visible in pencil. A date. September 16th. For now, they're safe. I checked the calendar. September 16th was exactly 1 week away. The next morning, I found Daniel on the porch swing again. He handed me a folded piece of paper. "What's this?" I asked. "Came in the mail. No return address." It was another letter. But this time, it wasn't vague. "You're doing well, James. Better than I expected. But you need to understand something. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I had to. There are things about me, about my past, that you never knew. And if they find me, they'll come for all of you. Stay away from Silver Pines. I mean it. No signature. Just a smear of red ink that looked oddly like a fingerprint." I didn't know what to believe. Was Clara sick? Was she being chased? Or was this just another layer in some twisted game? I went to Teresa, showed her the letter. She read it twice, then poured us both tea. "She's either in deep trouble, or trying to scare you into staying put." "I have to go to Silver Pines," I said. Teresa nodded. "You do." That night, after the kids went to bed, I packed a bag. Food, flashlight, phone, burner cell. I left a note for Teresa and told Daniel I'd be gone one night. He looked at me for a long time, then said, "If she's there, what are you gonna do?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I need answers." "Then don't come back with half of them." I drove through the night. The roads were narrow, unlit. My GPS cut out halfway there. Fog rolled in thick and wet, clinging to the windshield like it was trying to block my path. Eventually, I found it, barely marked, with a rusted gate and a hand-painted sign. Silver Pines, closed for the season. The place was dead quiet. Cabins crumbling. Weeds everywhere. Broken windows. Like a ghost town swallowed by the forest. I walked through the gravel path, flashlight bouncing across the trees. Then I saw it. Cabin 7. The door was ajar. Inside, everything was covered in white sheets. Dust clung to the air like secrets. And then, a sound. Soft. Breathing. I spun around, flashlight trembling in my hand. And that's when I saw her. Clara. Standing in the shadows. Eyes sunken. Hair wild. A look on her face that was part relief, part dread. "I told you not to come," she whispered. And before I could speak, the door slammed shut behind me. I hadn't seen Clara in over 2 months, but the moment our eyes met inside that ruined cabin, time folded in on itself. She looked different. Gaunt, pale, like she'd been living on the edge of something unspoken. Her clothes hung loosely on her frame. Her eyes, once warm, now flicked over every shadow like she expected something to crawl out of it. I didn't move. I didn't speak. Not until she did. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered again, arms crossed tightly over her chest. "And yet," I said, voice low, "here I am." She didn't cry. I expected tears, some flood of emotion, but she just stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe I was. "I told you I was dangerous," she muttered. "Dangerous? Clara, you vanished. You left our children. You broke our lives. What could possibly explain that?" She hesitated, then turned away, walking deeper into the dark of the cabin. I followed, unsure whether I was chasing answers or ghosts. We sat at an old table covered in dust. She lit a single candle from her bag. Its flicker danced across the wooden walls like fireflies trying to flee. "I wasn't always who you think I am," she began. I stayed silent, letting her unravel whatever nightmare she'd been carrying. "My real name isn't Clara Fields," she said slowly. "It's Claire DeLorme. I changed it 15 years ago when I left the program." "What program?" She looked up. "Witness protection." I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. "You're serious?" She nodded. Dead serious. She told me about a man named Adrian Rook, charming, brilliant, and psychotic. He ran a cult-like tech firm in Arizona that was eventually exposed for data theft, manipulation, and suspected trafficking. Clara, or Claire, was one of the whistleblowers. Her testimony brought it down. Rook disappeared before sentencing. And for years, she was safe. Until someone started leaving symbols near our home. Symbols Rook used in his recruitment. "I got spooked," she said. "You didn't see the signs. But I did. And I couldn't put you or the kids in danger. I had to disappear. I wanted to scream. Wanted to grab her shoulders and shake sense, or guilt, back into her." "You could have told me," I said bitterly. She shook her head. "You'd have tried to fight it. Or worse, call the police. If he found out where I was, it wouldn't be just me on the line. But he hasn't shown up. It's been months." Clara gave me a tired look. "That's what you think." She reached into her bag and pulled out a Polaroid. I stared at it, our family, at the playground. The photo was taken from a distance. "This was mailed to me," she said. "No note. Just that." My stomach dropped. "You think he's coming for us?" "I know he is." I stood, pacing the floor. "Then we go to the FBI. We get you back in protection." Clara shook her head. "It's not that simple. I violated protocol by contacting you. I'm compromised. If they find me, they'll bury me in a black site town in Montana and I'll never see the kids again." I paused. "Then what's your plan?" "Just keep hiding in rotting cabins and sending stuffed animals in the mail." I didn't know what else to do, she snapped, her voice cracking. And for a second, I saw her, really saw her. Not the woman who left, but the terrified mother who'd been living in shadows for years. There was silence. Heavy. Pressing. Then I asked the one question I didn't want to. Did he ever hurt you? She looked away. Not in ways you'd see. But yes. And he'll do worse if he gets his hands on any of you. I clenched my fists. Then we end this. Clara tilted her head. What does that mean? It means we stop running. We packed what little she had, mostly survival gear, old notebooks, burner phones. She kept scanning the woods like something was going to leap out at us. I wasn't sure if she was paranoid, or just right. As we left the cabin, I asked her, "What's so important about September 16th? She paused. "That's his birthday." I froze. "You think he'll try something then?" She nodded. "It would be poetic. He always liked theatrics." My blood ran cold. We drove back in silence. When we got home, Teresa was in the living room with the twins asleep in her lap. Max was drawing on the wall. Daniel stood by the window, arms folded. He saw Clara first. His expression didn't change. Clara stepped inside slowly. "Hi, Danny." He stared for a moment, then muttered, "Don't call me that," and walked away. That night, after everyone was in bed, I sat alone in the kitchen. Clara joined me. She looked smaller in the light of our home. Haunted. "What happens now?" she asked. I didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing. If Adrian Rook was coming, he'd find a very different version of the family Clara left behind. And we'd be ready. The days that followed Clara's return were quiet. Too quiet. Like the moment before a storm hits, when even the wind holds its breath. The kids didn't understand. Not fully. Lily and Leah kept asking when Mommy was going to stay for real. Max followed Clara around like a lost puppy. Daniel. He barely looked at her. And who could blame him? I didn't trust her either. Not completely. But trust didn't matter anymore. Not with what was coming. We had exactly 3 days until September 16th. I started by upgrading the house. Extra locks. Motion sensor lights. A camera Teresa's nephew helped set up in exchange for pizza and gas money. I bought an old hunting rifle and kept it in a locked safe under my bed. Paranoia? Maybe. But paranoia's just what they call it when nothing's happened yet. Clara stayed mostly in the guest room. She barely ate. Spent most of her time on her laptop, eyes darting across the screen like she was expecting it to explode. I caught her one night staring out the window, clutching the old teddy bear she'd mailed to Max. "You okay?" I asked softly. She jumped. Nodded. "Just listening." "To what?" She hesitated. Breathing. 2 nights before the 16th, the twins started screaming in their sleep. I rushed in. Clara got there first. The girls clung to her like they'd never let go. "I saw a man," Leah sobbed. "Outside the window. He had a red mark on his face." Clara's blood drained. "What kind of mark?" she asked gently. Leah sniffled. "Like a burn." His skin looked melted. Clara stood up immediately. "That's him," she whispered. We checked the cameras. Nothing. No sign of anyone. But that didn't mean much. The backyard was full of blind spots. Shadows were thick. Trees even thicker. "He's here," Clara said that night, her voice flat. "He's playing with us." I didn't doubt her anymore. The next morning, Daniel found something in the mailbox. No envelope. Just a single Polaroid. It was Teresa, tied to a chair, gagged. Behind her, scrawled on the wall, "Come alone. September 16th. Or I bury the past." I grabbed my keys, ready to storm the earth. But Clara stopped me. "You do that, we all die." We debated for hours. Call the cops? Too risky. Clara said Rook had inside contacts, people who owed him favors or feared him enough to stay quiet. "I'll go," she said. "No." That's what he wants, I snapped. Daniel stood up. Then I'll go. Clara's voice cracked. No, not you. I looked at them both. Then said the words I already knew were true. It's me. I'm the one he wants to break now. The meetup location was written on the back of the photo, an abandoned greenhouse outside town. It used to belong to a shut-down nursery, now overgrown and silent. I told the kids I was going to find Teresa. Clara stayed behind, swore she'd keep them safe. Daniel pulled me aside before I left. If something happens, tell her I forgive her. I nodded, throat tight. And Dad, he said. Yeah. You're not going there alone. I didn't want him to come. He was 15. Just a kid. But his eyes, they weren't the same eyes I remembered before Clara left. They were sharper now. Older. Like he'd grown up overnight. So we went together, father and son, into the lion's mouth. The greenhouse was hidden behind a chain-link fence, swallowed by ivy and silence. The glass was shattered in places. Moss clung to every corner like the earth was trying to reclaim it. We moved slow, careful. Daniel held the flashlight. I kept my hand near the gun tucked in my waistband. Inside, it smelled like mildew and rot. Then we saw her, Teresa, tied to a chair, alive. And beside her, a man, tall, pale, burn scar stretching from his cheek to his temple. Adrian Rook. He smiled when he saw me. James, he said. The loyal husband. The brave father. I raised the gun. Let her go. He laughed. Oh, you brought a weapon. Very on brand. Clara said you were predictable. Daniel stepped forward. He said let her go. Adrian tilted his head, intrigued. This your boy? Strong chin, fierce stare. I can see Clara in him. I was shaking. Every instinct screamed pull the trigger. But Adrian held something in his hand, a small device. Looked like a detonator. You shoot me, he said softly, and we all go up in flames. Greenhouses are surprisingly flammable, you know. Especially ones pre-rigged with gas canisters. My blood ran cold. What do you want? I asked. He smiled. Her. He meant Clara. She ruined my life. Took my empire. Made me this. He gestured to the scar. I want her to feel what I felt. To lose everything. You already lost, I growled. Not yet, he said. Then Daniel did something I didn't expect. He lunged. Straight at Adrian. There was a flash. The detonator dropped, skidding across the floor. I dove after it, grabbed it, then rolled toward Teresa. Rook roared in fury, swinging at Daniel. My son dodged, slammed a fist into his stomach. Not clean. But enough. I cut Teresa loose. Go. I shouted. She stumbled toward the exit. I tossed the detonator out the broken window just as Rook reached for me. We wrestled. He was strong. But rage makes you stronger. I got the gun. Held it to his chest. Say goodbye. No, Clara's voice rang out. She stepped through the doorway, hands raised. Don't do it, James. I stared at her. He'll never stop. I know, she said. But you need to. She walked up to Rook. Looked him in the eye. I'm not afraid of you anymore, she said. And in that moment, she wasn't. I could see it. Neither was I. We called the FBI that night. Rook was taken into custody, thanks to Teresa's testimony and the evidence Clara had been compiling. It was over. The nightmare was over. But the wounds, those would take longer. The morning after Adrian Rook's arrest, the sky looked different. Not because the clouds were clearer or the air fresher, but because the weight pressing down on our family for so long had finally lifted. But freedom, it doesn't come without scars. We were safe now, But broken things don't heal overnight. The FBI kept Clara for 3 full days. Questioned her about everything. Her past identity, her disappearance, how long she'd known Rook was hunting her again. They cleared her, eventually. But not without warning. This isn't over for good. People like Rook, they plant roots in strange places. Still, when she walked through the front door again, we all stood frozen. Like if we blinked, she'd vanish again. But this time, she stayed. And that made all the difference. The house wasn't what it used to be. Teresa took time off work. She needed space, time to heal. I told her she didn't have to come back. She hugged me with tears in her eyes and whispered, "You're still the strongest man I know." I never got to thank her properly. Not yet. The kids had their own ways of coping. Lily and Leah made "Mom Came Back" cards and taped them all over the house. Max started drawing the whole family again, but now he always added a shadow in the corner, something with a scar. His therapist said it was how he was processing fear. I didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. Daniel was different. One evening, I found him sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded. "You were brave," I added. "What you did in the greenhouse." "I wasn't brave," he said flatly. "I was angry." I sat beside him. "She left, Dad. 4 years. And now she's just here again. Like nothing happened." I didn't argue. I didn't defend her. Instead, I said, "Sometimes people make choices not because they don't love you, but because they do." He looked at me. "You forgive her?" I thought about it. About the nights alone. The panic. The silence. Not all the way. Not yet. But I want to. Daniel nodded. "I don't know if I can." "That's okay. You don't have to yet." He stared at the horizon. "I missed her," he whispered. Weeks passed. We tried to fall back into routines. School, work, bills, broken dishwasher. Life, in its clumsy way, started moving forward again. But there were still cracks. Clara couldn't sleep. She'd wander the halls at night like a ghost. I caught her once staring at the girls' room with her hand against the wall. "They're taller," she said softly. "They grew up without me." "You're here now," I replied. "But for how long?" The fear never really left her eyes. Then came the letter. Handwritten. No return address. Just 4 words. "You're not finished yet." Inside the envelope was a chess piece, the queen. And on the back of the envelope, "Rook always plans 2 moves ahead." The FBI opened a new investigation, but there wasn't much to go on. Rook was behind bars, but his reach might have gone further than any of us realized. We installed more cameras, changed phones, moved funds, got the kids off social media. The family started living again, but with one eye always watching the door. And then, something strange happened. Clara got a call from a lawyer in Nevada. Her birth name, Claire DeLorme, was listed in a recently uncovered document, a shell company Rook had used to funnel cash during his final years. But the document had a twist. Claire was listed as a co-owner of the account. Millions of dollars, sitting in limbo. Blood money, tech money, stolen identities and blackmail kind of money. The kind of money that could buy a new life, or ruin one. We talked about it for days. I didn't want it. Neither did Clara. But the truth? We had 5 kids. Bills. A mortgage. A past to bury. And maybe it was time something good came out of all the damage. We took it. Legally. Transparently. And we donated half to a foundation that helped families escape dangerous situations. The rest? We put away for the kids. Max wants to be an architect. Leah's been talking about space camp. Daniel, he says he wants to study criminal psychology. Funny how trauma shapes dreams. Life didn't magically fix itself. We still had fights. Clara still slept with a light on. I still stared at the back door sometimes, waiting for another shadow. But little things mattered more now. Saturday pancakes. Fireflies in the yard. Laughter echoing down the hall again. Clara and I didn't rush anything. We talked. A lot. Some nights we stayed up past 2 a.m. just telling the truth. She was still the woman I loved. But different. And so was I. One night, months later, Daniel handed me an envelope. No name. Just a note inside. He wrote, "I forgive her. And you. And me." Sometimes, people think stories like this end with a big, clean bow. Justice. Forgiveness. Happiness. But real life doesn't work that way. Some days still hurt. Some memories still bleed. But we're together. All of us. Stronger. Wiser. Still healing. Still growing. And if she ever leaves again, I know now, I won't fall apart. I'll rise. Because that's what fathers do.